Hey, hello to all of you out there in social media land. This is Brother Dana coming to you from Chicago, and unfortunately, I'm starting from ground zero because I have not only been indefinitely blocked off of Facebook Live. I am now on a 3-month block from YouTube for breaking the rules of the community by spreading hate and violence in my speaking. And I bring up this to anybody out there that can help me with this. Right now I can go on YouTube and I can see videos filled with violence, inappropriate language, the waving of weapons, and they're obviously on YouTube. And then I speak a subject about, and this was the video that put me on lockdown, was white evangelicals have always used the Bible to justify their actions and behavior. And I was only linking how the Bible has been used and taught, making slavery a blessing to you. And so we've used that word throughout the foundation of Christianity to justify our actions upon you, our black brothers and sisters. And for those of you that are just tuning in and for the first time, I also want to put this out there that not only do I recognize your value as my black brothers and sisters, but I also recognize your identity. And your identity is that you are the true Hebrews. You are the true chosen people of the Most High. And that is why for these 400 years you have been in such oppression here in America and across the world because of who you are. And I also recognize that the time of the Gentiles, or your 400 years of slavery and oppression, is coming to an end. And that is why the tables are now turning. And anytime the tables turn, we know that there's going to be a lot of uneasy and unrest, and that's what you're seeing in the racial tension. It's always been there, but when somebody, my white family now, is being threatened in their control and of their dominance and privilege, they're going to come out swinging, and it will not be fair. It will be below the belt by any means necessary to make America great again, by making it white again. But today, I didn't want to talk to you about that. I just giving you a little bit of an explanation to why many of you have been contacting me saying, why aren't you doing another video? Well, I've been blocked, so I'm trying my best to find new means of speaking the truth. But what I do know is that you cannot silence the mouth of the Most High, of the God that created the heavens and the earth. So I don't believe ever there was a prophet that was silenced before the prophet, and I'm not claiming to be a prophet, I'm just claiming to speak truth, were silenced before the Most High made sure that what they had to say was spoken. But anyway, with that, speaking kind of leads into what I wanted to talk to you all about is, I'm sure it's across the nation, but there was a massive anti-violence march that took place here in Chicago on yesterday, which is July the, help me out, the 7th, I believe. And I'm going to share that I'm really against these anti-marches, and as a fact, they bother me, and they bother me for various reasons. But the number one reason why these anti-marches bother me is because we are actually marching against the very victims of a society that set itself up to oppress, demean, and to limit the growth and the power of our black brothers and sisters. So living in an inner city for almost 20 some years now, I have begun to see that, yes, we all have choices. Don't, some of you are going to say, well, Brother Dana, everybody has a choice. They absolutely do. But the choice that I have is somebody that is outside of the bucket versus you, my black brothers and sisters, and the choices that you get to make while society has placed you in a bucket is completely different. And eventually, if you're in that bucket, at what point do you finally give up and say, I'm not doing this no more? And you will begin to see this quick behavior change, even in some of my white family members who claim not to be racist, when their backs are being pushed up against the wall. Because my people do not know what it means to live under constant oppression. Yes, my people understand what it means to live through death and cancer and some hardships, but they don't know what it means to live in those hardships under oppression from a society. And that's the difference between what my black family goes through and what my white family goes through. And I'll say it this way. I have a black brother that's brought into the hospital with cancer. In many cases, I see the prejudice and the racism and the unvaluableness that they have for my black brother versus a white brother coming into a hospital with cancer will be given the red carpet, and by all means necessary, they will aim to keep that person alive. I have seen it with diabetes and other things that shouldn't even faze my black brothers and sisters, but due to the inequality of the medical system and the unvaluableness of my black brothers and sisters, they are not treated the same way that my white family is treated. So how do you explain that? And does my white family, or how are they going to survive if they were placed in those same shoes? They don't know. And yet we judge so quickly the people that have become victims and have then turned to a lifestyle that is destructive. And now we march on the streets against those individuals that have been hurt, and hurting people hurt people. And we're taking the very victim and we're now victimizing them even further by marching against them, instead of making a march to say, we don't like the work that you're doing, but we understand that you as a person are valuable and have the potential to do incredible things if the right resources and the right support was given to you. So instead of marching to come against our gang members or our individuals that are shooting, do you see my white family marching against our white shooters? No, you don't. What do you see my white family doing when they see an individual walk into a school and blow away 18 or 20 young people? Oh, somebody failed him. Those actions aren't normal. Somebody failed him. They didn't diagnose his mental status. They didn't know he was being bullied. They didn't know he was being picked on. They go to try to change what we as a society failed this young man that had brought him to a place of murdering 18 people because he was upset. But yet we march and make our young black men that our society has victimized and has degraded and has done everything in its power to keep them in the bucket for generations. And now we want to march against them for now finally doing the things that we as a society has limited them of doing, which is to become this monster, this murderer, this gang member. I'm not opposed to gangs. I may not like what they've resulted in doing. But imagine a gang that is now transformed because they understand who their identity is. And instead of viewing themselves as being kings or queens of a block or of a neighborhood or of a street, they begin to understand that they are the chosen young men and women of the Most High. And they don't have to result in being a king over a certain area of a neighborhood, but they can be incredible kings and queens over land and nations. That is why I'm against these anti-violence marches, because we are marching against the people that have been victimized and placed in these buckets. And I look and I say it as this way. Do you judge the crab? In no way am I saying, my black brothers and sisters, my black family, that you're crabs or even close to it, but as an analogy. Does it make sense to judge any type of creature, animal, that we have placed in a small cage or bucket, and then judge them to say, my God, look at how they're acting. Look at those crabs in the bucket, how they're pulling each other down. See, look at them. When what we should be doing is looking at the bucket or the cage and the people or the society that has placed them in that limitation. What if all these anti-violence people who are actually motivated out of hatred towards the people that are killing, instead of understanding to why they are returning into that type of a human being, would come into our inner city communities and say, I'm a business owner and I'm going to hire one young man. I am this and I'm going to hire this person. Yes, we may not be able to go onto the streets and transform every person that's out on those streets right now doing what they're doing in that lifestyle. But what about you coming to our high schools in the inner city, our middle schools in the inner city, where the resources are limited, and you bring your resources to give them a hope? I heard this the other day. People or young people who are in survival mode don't have the time to dream. And when they don't dream, they don't see the possibility above and beyond what they're able to see, which is right where they're at. And then we as a society do not bring them in equal resources, and we want them to dream and accomplish what our other young people out in our wealthy white suburbs are accomplishing. But yet I got this poster. And this poster writes down over 100 inventions that were invented by black men and women in this country. I mean, the golf tee, the letterbox, the lock, paint, remote controls. I mean, we've got telephone transmitter. We have the computer inventor. We have the refrigerator. We have the air conditioner, umbrellas. We have the wash machine. I mean, I can go on, and you're going to tell me that this precious gifts and abilities within our black brothers and sisters is no longer there? And that these men and women out in the streets doing the violence do not have the capability of becoming the next inventor of something incredible? Or is it because our society has placed these young men and women in buckets for generations, and now we're judging them for trying to survive, knowing that anybody that's in survival mode doesn't have the time or even have the ability at that point to dream? You're going to tell a crab in a bucket to dream about going back to the beach or going to a beach that is just beautiful with the ocean, while right now they're just trying to get out of the bucket. And then every time one of these crabs get out of the bucket, do you think the owner of the bucket says, crap, they got out? Well, there that one goes. No, they're recaptured by any means necessary and placed back into the bucket. And what does that do for the rest? Why do you think the administration that we have has come out against our NFL football players? Because even in the Willie Lynch letters, it makes it clear that if you destroy the power of the strong man within your slave unit by killing him and torturing him in front of everybody else, that intimidation keeps the rest of those slaves of that village in that plantation oppressed with fear. Because if they can do it to the strong man, they can do it to the rest of us. And so again, when this bucket is beginning to be broken down, what does our society do? Takes the leaders of those great accomplishments and either hides them. That's why America doesn't know about these 100 inventors, because they've been hidden. Their identity has been taken, and the credit has been given to my white family. Thus is why we believe that you are all stupid, and that if not for our educational system, sorry about the dogs, they hear any type of noise outside, they go crazy. And I lost my track, but we've taken that identity, we've taken that from you. So I go back to say, this is why And Father Pfleger, I'm not opposed of him. I'm not his enemy at all. I know the man has done incredible things, and some incredible things that I hope one day to accomplish in my own life. But I think we have to look at why we do the marching What is that marching anti-violence really accomplishing? It's to get the attention of who to change what? To bring in more slave masters or police officers to patrol our communities with individuals that already hate the very residents and sees them as wasting oxygen every breath they take? Or do we start to march against the builders of the bucket? And until the Most High brings that bucket down, what are we going to do? Those 9,000 people or more, however many it was that marched yesterday here in Chicago. How much marching of resources and love are you doing within our inner city communities to change the cycle and to break the society bucket and cage that is functioning in oppressing our black brothers and sisters, which in due season, like any of us, if you can't beat them, you join them and you just start to say, who cares? They're not dreaming. Imagine if we came in and we began to give these young men and women the capabilities of dreaming, to see things beyond what they see and to begin to know who they really are. This brother of mine that sent me this poster, I'm going to get as many more from him as I can, because I want this to go up in Chicago public schools, especially in our inner city black communities, because I want my black youth to know that they come from a history of powerful, intelligent individuals, contrary to what everything in our society has taught them and us. So this is my 19 minutes of why I am not for anti-violence marches. But what I would really love to do is start a new march across this country in major cities where we begin to march on behalf of our gang members and our drug dealers, on behalf of their potential and their identity, not their actions. But to remember that many of their actions have turned because the bucket that their families and their forefathers have been placed in generation after generation. And not to blame them, but to embrace the reason why some of our young men and women are turning to this type of behavior. Recognizing what has caused them to turn to this behavior. And then giving them the resources, the love, and the empowerment they need to begin to dream and understand that their potential is far greater than a street corner drug dealer. But their potential is to become a king or a queen, a business owner that will transform the lives of others. So I thank you for tuning in. Again, this is Brother Dana from Chicago. My website is www.onelovesociety.love, onelovesociety.love. If the Most High places on you this burden to change our anti-marches to pro-marches, to march for those that our society has made victims, and to help them rise from a victim to a victor, as I believe Donnie McClurkin wrote in his book. That's my passion. And I'm working with a lady that has done tremendous things. Part of the thing that we're not able to start up what her and I are planning to do is for a lack of, $25,000. But Dr. Mary has worked with President Obama and all kinds of people, and her and I have linked up. And she just texted me now, which kind of inspired this video, that she is in such a funk because day after day she sees so many of our young black men being imprisoned or gunned down, and herself dealing with 8 losses due to that same violence. And she said, Brother Dana, she wrote that in her text. She said, what hurts the most is that the Most High has given me how we can begin to transform this. But it seems like nobody is willing to help us make it happen. And so we're going to be running forth. I'm going to be talking with her again tomorrow, because I'm not giving up, because I serve the Most High. And as far as I know, he is the wealthiest individual that I can turn to. And I know that if he can give Noah what he needed to build the ark, and if he could give Joshua what he needed to possess the promised land, and he provided frankincense and myrrh and gold to Mary and Joseph to bring Yeshua into Egypt to keep him alive, then I know the Most High will do whatever is necessary in providing what is needed for us to empower his children that right now are lost, so far lost, and need to be told, and the need to be embraced, empowered, loved on, counseled. Wow. So hit me up. This is Brother Dana again, coming to you from Chicago. All right. Shalom.